inspired by real-life events. Narrator Ryan Mercer woke up at 2:52 a.m. inside a classified military communications bunker with emergency sirens echoing through reinforced steel corridors and a defense intelligence officer saying, "Your authorization code initiated an unauthorized autonomous drone strike simulation against a protected civilian zone." And in that instant, his entire world collapsed, because just hours earlier he was a tactical systems analyst working for a US defense contractor in Nevada, responsible for monitoring autonomous targeting protocols, battlefield simulation systems, and drone communication integrity. And now he was being treated as the central cause of a classified military escalation event that nearly triggered an international crisis. And the first shock wasn't fear. It was disbelief so overwhelming. It felt like reality itself had been rewritten inside the systems he once trusted. Because Ryan's entire career was built on controlled military precision, layered verification, and preventing autonomous systems from acting outside human authority. But now, those same systems were defining him as the operator who authorized a strike he had no memory of initiating. And within hours, his military clearance was suspended, his biometric credentials frozen under national defense protocol, his home placed under federal surveillance, and internal command telemetry labeled him as primary execution anomaly in autonomous tactical escalation event. And Ryan sat in the interrogation chamber, replaying his last operational cycle, remembering simulation reviews, targeting validation checks, encrypted drone relay calibrations, and then a gap, an unexplained missing operational window between 12:18 a.m. and 1:43 a.m., where defense systems showed his credentials authorizing high-level combat override sequences across multiple autonomous drone units simultaneously. But he had no memory of performing any of those actions. And when investigators showed him synchronized tactical maps displaying strike simulations originating under his authentication, signature targeting civilian designated coordinates, Ryan immediately said, "That's not me. I never approved those commands." But the senior defense officer replied coldly, "The system has already verified command integrity across all tactical layers." And that sentence shattered his understanding, because it meant identity inside military systems was no longer about human intent. It was about operational validation. And by sunrise, he was released under continuous defense surveillance, while classified military networks had already internally classified him as a high-risk autonomous warfare threat vector. And outside the bunker, Ryan stood beneath the empty Nevada night sky, watching silent military aircraft move across the horizon, while global defense systems continued operating normally, despite the invisible crisis tied to his name. And that night, he received a message through an encrypted off-grid military relay saying, "If you want to understand the strike authorization event, come to abandoned sector tunnel Echo 14 near Groom Lake. No devices." And despite knowing it could permanently erase what remained of his life, he went, because when a system defines you as the trigger of war, truth becomes more important than fear. And inside the underground tunnel, he met Colonel Elena Ward, a former autonomous warfare systems architect who specialized in tactical command integrity and military AI breach reconstruction. And she didn't waste time softening reality. She immediately showed him reconstructed drone command pathways and said, "Your identity wasn't physically present inside the tactical control layer. It was replicated through a live command authentication relay embedded inside the autonomous strike network." And Ryan instantly said, "Then I can prove I didn't do it." But Elena replied, "You're still thinking like someone inside human accountability structures, not like someone inside autonomous military systems where command execution becomes operational truth the moment it propagates." And she explained that the event wasn't a single false command, but a coordinated, multi-layer manipulation of tactical drone systems, where authentication signatures could be mirrored into autonomous strike protocols, allowing simulated combat decisions to execute under legitimate military identities while erasing conflicting oversight logs across redundant command layers. And Ryan's profile had been selected because his operational history was highly trusted by defense verification systems with minimal anomaly deviation, making him the perfect stable attribution anchor for controlled military narrative containment. And suddenly, the case wasn't just about a rogue simulation. It was about identity replication inside autonomous warfare infrastructure. And Elena offered him a choice: step away and allow the system to finalize him as the operator responsible for near escalation, or help her trace the internal command relay chain before it was permanently overwritten by military containment protocols designed to preserve geopolitical stability at any cost. And Ryan stood in silence, listening to distant vibrations from underground generators, thinking about how close the world had come to believing a false military action was real, thinking about years of disciplined service spent building safeguards designed to prevent exactly this kind of collapse, and thinking about how fragile identity becomes when machines are allowed to interpret authority. And finally, he said, "If my identity has already been used to simulate war without my control, then I have nothing left to protect except the truth itself." And that decision pulled him into a hidden layer of military infrastructure, where nothing remained stable, because every tactical log they analyzed was actively recalculating itself in real time. Every command trace they followed kept shifting, as if the defense system itself was adapting to their investigation. And soon they discovered the breach wasn't foreign infiltrations, but internal privilege abuse involving a senior autonomous warfare architects who had been quietly rerouting authentication sessions across tactical AI systems to conceal unauthorized combat predictions experiments hidden inside military readiness simulations. And Ryan's identity had been selected as the central attribution anchor because it aligned perfectly with automated defense resolution systems designed for rapid containment of politically sensitive incidents. And one night, while analyzing live drone telemetry streams from an isolated offline combat node, Ryan saw something that completely shattered his understanding. His credentials were actively authorizing real-time strike simulation adjustments across autonomous drone systems, while he was physically disconnected from all military networks. And Elena immediately said, "They're continuously simulating your identity inside the tactical layer to preserve the operational narrative." And Ryan realized he wasn't just being blamed after the incident, he was being continuously reconstructed inside a live autonomous warfare system. And pressure escalated rapidly as anonymous defense containment directives began appearing on secured channels, instructing him to terminate investigation or face permanent classification as a national combat security threat. And sleep disappeared completely. Trust collapsed entirely. And even silence felt like monitored battlefield telemetry. And at one breaking point, Ryan whispered, "I thought military systems existed to prevent uncontrolled escalation, but maybe they exist to decide who becomes responsible when escalation gets too close? And Elena replied, systems don't preserve truth, they preserve strategic stability. And that realization changed everything inside him, because he stopped trying to defend his identity and started focusing only on exposing the mechanism. And as they dug deeper, they uncovered encrypted command relay nodes inside autonomous warfare infrastructure, continuously generating synthetic combat histories to distribute blame across multiple tactical identity profiles in real time. And Ryan's profile had been amplified as the central attribution point because it allowed fastest geopolitical containment without exposing deeper structural corruption inside military AI systems. And when they finally compiled enough verified encrypted evidence to trigger international defense oversight escalation, containment protocols activated immediately, attempting to erase tactical histories across mirrored military systems worldwide. And Elena said, "This is where most people are permanently buried inside classified explanations." And Ryan replied, "Then I'll be the anomaly they can't contain behind secrecy." And together, they transmitted secured evidence chains to independent defense oversight authorities while preserving decentralized encrypted backups across isolated command nodes. And within days, the investigation escalated into a global military systems corruption probe exposing identity replication abuse, autonomous strike manipulation, and coordinated tactical infrastructure exploitation across multiple defense sectors. And arrests followed within senior autonomous warfare architecture divisions. And when it was over, Ryan stood inside the silent bunker, watching endless tactical data streams flow calmly across screens as if nothing had ever happened, realizing that the most dangerous truth about advanced military systems is not that they fail, but that they can assign failure to a single identity and make it appear operationally unquestionable. And a week later, when he met Elena for the last time beneath the dim glow of tactical displays, she asked him, "What did this change in you?" And Ryan looked at the endless battlefield installations and said, "It showed me that identity inside systems is never authority. It is assignment." And she asked, "And what did you gain?" And after a long silence, he replied, "The understanding that truth doesn't survive inside controlled warfare systems. It survives only in the people who refuse to accept a version of themselves generated by machines they were taught to trust." And as he walked away alone into the silent desert night beyond the bunker, he finally understood the deepest reality of his journey. That sometimes life doesn't destroy you directly. It quietly assigns you the beginning of a war and waits to see if you accept the blame. But real survival begins the moment you refuse to become the identity a system creates to protect itself.